Imagine holding a small, ordinary-looking coin in your hand, a simple 5-cent piece that most people would ignore without a second thought. Now imagine if that same coin could secretly be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. This is the story of the Jefferson Nickel, a coin first introduced in 1938, featuring the iconic face of Thomas Jefferson. At first glance, it may seem like just another everyday coin, but hidden within its design, its history, and its tiny details lies a world of rare discoveries that most people never notice. Over the decades, certain Jefferson Nickels have become incredibly valuable due to rare mint marks, unusual minting errors, and limited production runs. During World War II, even the metal composition of this coin was changed, creating special silver versions that are now highly collectible. And that's just the beginning. Some of these nickels have shocked collectors by selling for unbelievable prices, turning what looks like pocket change into a true hidden treasure. The difference between a common coin and a valuable one can come down to the smallest detail, a tiny letter, a subtle flaw, or a year you might overlook. In today's video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the Jefferson Nickel. You'll discover its hidden value, rare variations, and the key signs that could turn your own coin into something extraordinary. So before you spend that 5-cent coin, take a closer look, because what you're holding might be far more valuable than you ever imagined. Welcome back to my channel, Coin Vault USA, where we explore hidden treasures, rare coins, and valuable discoveries that most people overlook every single day. Today's video is going to be incredibly exciting, because we are starting a brand new journey into some of the most fascinating and potentially valuable coins you might already have in your possession. And trust me, by the end of this video, you may never look at your pocket change the same way again. So let's begin with the very first coin on our list, and that is the legendary Jefferson Nickel, specifically the 1983p Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, this coin might look completely ordinary. It's just a 5-cent coin, something millions of people have used without even thinking twice. But what if I told you that this simple coin has a story, a history, and in some cases, a hidden value that could truly surprise you? The Jefferson Nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. It features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, one of the founding fathers of the United States, and his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse side. Since its introduction, this coin has been minted in huge numbers, which is why most people assume it has no real value beyond 5 cents. But that assumption is exactly what makes certain versions of this coin so special. Now, let's talk specifically about the 1983p Jefferson Nickel. The P mint mark indicates that this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Interestingly, before 1980, Philadelphia coins often did not carry a mint mark at all. So when you see a P on a coin like this, it already tells you something about its era and production. In 1983, millions of these coins were minted. But here's where things get interesting: not all of them are the same. Within this large production, there are rare variations and minting errors that can significantly increase the value of the coin. These errors might include off-center strikes, doubled dies, die cracks, or unusual surface textures caused during the minting process. To the average person, these might look like small imperfections, but to a coin collector, these imperfections are exactly what make a coin rare and desirable. Imagine this: two people have the same 1983p Jefferson Nickel. One spends it without a second thought, while the other carefully examines it and discovers a rare mint error. That small detail could turn a 5-cent coin into something worth dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars, depending on the rarity and condition. That's the power of knowledge in coin collecting. Another important factor when it comes to the value of this coin is its condition. Coins that are in uncirculated or near perfect condition are always more valuable than those that have been heavily used. Collectors look for sharp details, clean surfaces, and original luster. So if you happen to have a 1983p Jefferson Nickel that looks almost brand new, you might already be holding something special. Now, let's dive deeper into the idea of mint errors. Because this is where things become truly exciting. A mint error happens when something goes slightly wrong during the production of the coin. This could be a misalignment, a double strike, or even a mistake in the die used to stamp the design. These errors are not supposed to happen, which is why they are rare, and rarity is what drives value. For example, a double die error can make certain letters or numbers on the coin appear slightly duplicated. An off-center strike might cause part of the design to be missing or shifted. Even small cracks in the die can leave unique marks on the coin's surface. Each of these errors tells a story about how that specific coin was made, and no two error coins are exactly alike. What makes the 1983p Jefferson Nickel even more interesting is that many of these error coins go unnoticed. People use them in everyday transactions, completely unaware of their potential value. That means there is always a chance that someone, somewhere, might still discover a rare version of this coin in their pocket, their drawer, or an old coin collection. And this is exactly why this video matters. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable one is often just a matter of awareness. Once you know what to look for, everything changes. You start noticing details that others ignore. You start questioning coins that once seemed worthless. And suddenly, every coin becomes a potential discovery. Now, let's talk about the real question: how much is a 1983p Jefferson nickel actually worth? In most cases, a regular circulated coin will still be worth its face value, which is 5 cents. But if the coin is in excellent condition, or if it has a rare mint error, the value can increase significantly. Some high-grade or error versions of this coin have been sold for impressive amounts, especially when verified by professional grading services. So if you have this coin, what should you do? First, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Examine the details carefully. Look for anything unusual, doubling, misalignment, strange marks, or anything that doesn't look standard. If you suspect that your coin might be special, consider getting it evaluated by an expert or a professional coin grading service. Because here's the truth: opportunities like this don't come often. Most people go through their entire lives without ever realizing the value of the coins they handle every day. But you are different. You are here, watching this video, learning about these hidden details. And that knowledge alone puts you one step ahead of everyone else. As we continue this series, we will explore more coins, more rare variations, and more hidden treasures that could be sitting right in front of you. But it all starts with this first coin, the 1983p Jefferson Nickel, a simple coin with a powerful story and the potential to surprise anyone who takes the time to look closely. So stay with me, because this is just the beginning. And who knows, the next coin we talk about might be even more valuable than this one. As we move further into this exploration, it's time to shift our focus toward the deeper layers of this fascinating 5-cent piece areas that most casual collectors never reach. What appears simple on the surface often hides complex production stories. And the 1983 Philadelphia issue is a perfect example of how subtle variations can transform an ordinary object into something truly collectible. During the early 1980s, coin production in the United States faced several technical adjustments. Changes in machinery, die preparation, and striking pressure all contributed to minor inconsistencies across batches. These inconsistencies are not always visible at first glance, but under closer inspection, they reveal distinctive characteristics that set certain coins apart from the rest. One of the most overlooked aspects of this coin lies in die deterioration patterns. Over time, the metal dies used to strike coins begin to wear down. This wear can create slightly blurred details, stretched lettering, or uneven surfaces. While many people consider this a flaw, experienced collectors recognize specific patterns of die wear as indicators of unique production stages. In rare situations, these patterns can even help identify early or late die states, which may carry additional interest in the collector market. Another important detail involves strike quality. Not every coin is struck with the same level of precision. Some pieces display sharper features, particularly in areas like the steps of Monticello or the finer lines of the portrait. Coins with unusually strong strikes stand out because they reflect a higher quality impression from the dies. When such sharpness is combined with minimal wear, the overall desirability increases significantly. Beyond that, there are transitional characteristics that can sometimes appear when older dies are reused or adjusted. These transitional features are extremely subtle and often require magnification to identify. However, when confirmed, they can represent a fascinating link between different production phases, making the coin more appealing to specialists who focus on fine details. Surface texture also plays a major role. While most circulated coins develop marks and abrasions, certain pieces retain a smoother and more consistent texture. Occasionally, unusual textures may appear due to planchet preparation issues. These irregularities can create faint lines, patches, or slightly rough finishes that differ from standard surfaces. Such features, when verified as mint-related rather than damage, can add an extra layer of uniqueness. Now, let's turn our attention toward lesser-known error possibilities. While dramatic errors often attract the most attention, subtle anomalies can be equally valuable in the right context. Slight misalignments, faint doubling visible under magnification, or minor die cracks forming near the edges are all examples of details that may go unnoticed by the average person. Yet for a trained eye, these are the very signs that separate a common coin from a collectible one. In some cases, multiple minor irregularities may appear on a single piece. When this happens, the coin becomes even more intriguing because it represents a combination of production quirks rather than a single isolated issue. These multi-feature coins are especially appealing to advanced collectors who appreciate complexity and rarity in subtle forms. Market behavior surrounding coins like this can also be quite interesting. Value is not determined by age alone, but by a combination of rarity, condition, and demand. When a specific variation gains attention within the collecting community, its desirability can increase rapidly. This is why staying informed and recognizing key features early can make a significant difference. Another factor to consider is preservation. Coins that have been stored carefully, away from moisture and physical damage, tend to maintain their original characteristics more effectively. Proper storage can protect details such as luster and sharpness, both of which play an important role in overall appeal. Even a slightly better preserved example can stand out when compared to heavily worn pieces. It's also worth mentioning that authentication plays a crucial role in establishing credibility. Professional evaluation can confirm whether a coin's unusual features are genuine, mint-related characteristics, or simply the result of post-production damage. This distinction is essential, especially when dealing with subtle details that may not be obvious to an untrained observer. As you continue examining coins like the 1983 Philadelphia issue, your perspective begins to change. Instead of seeing uniform objects, you start noticing individuality in each piece. Tiny variations become meaningful, and what once seemed insignificant now carries potential importance. This shift in perception is what transforms a casual interest into a deeper understanding of the field. Ultimately, the true appeal of this coin lies not only in its potential monetary worth, but in the hidden complexity behind its creation. Every mark, every variation, and every subtle difference tells a story about the process that brought it into existence. And for those willing to look closely, that story can be far more valuable than the coin's face value alone. As we move forward, keep observing, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep looking closely because the smallest details often hold the greatest surprises. And now, it's time to move forward in our journey as we uncover the second coin in this fascinating collection. The first coin opened the door to a hidden world, but what comes next takes us even deeper into a story that is often ignored, yet filled with unique details that most people never notice. Our second coin is the 1985p 5-cent piece. Another example from the long-running Jefferson Nickel series, but this time, we are not just looking at a coin. We are stepping into a different chapter, a different moment in production history, where small changes and overlooked details begin to create a completely new level of interest. By the mid-1980s, coin production had already gone through multiple adjustments. Compared to earlier decades, the systems used to produce coins were more refined. Yet at the same time, new types of minor inconsistencies began to appear. These were not the dramatic, obvious mistakes that grab attention instantly, but rather subtle variations that require patience and careful observation to truly understand. The 1985 Philadelphia issue stands out because it represents a period where consistency was expected, yet individuality still managed to emerge. Within large quantities of production, certain pieces began to show slight differences in finish, strike strength, and alignment. These differences are not always easy to see, but once identified, they can completely change how a coin is perceived. One of the most interesting aspects of this coin lies in its overall appearance when compared to earlier issues. While previous years may show more noticeable wear patterns or production inconsistencies, the 1985 version often presents a cleaner, more controlled look. However, this does not mean it lacks uniqueness. In fact, it is within this controlled appearance that hidden variations become even more significant. Collectors who specialize in this era often focus on fine details, such as edge definition, surface clarity, and micro-level irregularities. These elements may seem insignificant to a casual observer, but they are critical in identifying coins that stand out from the rest. A slightly sharper edge, a more defined design, or an unusual surface reflection can all contribute to a coin's desirability. Now, let's explore a lesser discussed concept: production rhythm. Coins are not created individually in isolation. They are part of a continuous process. During this process, slight fluctuations can occur in pressure, alignment, or die condition. These fluctuations may result in coins that look nearly identical, yet carry subtle differences that make each one unique in its own way. The 1985p coin is a perfect example of how these small fluctuations can leave behind traces that are only visible to those who take the time to look closely. In some cases, you may notice faint irregularities in lettering thickness or spacing. In others, there may be slight differences in how the design elements are impressed onto the surface. These are not errors in the traditional sense, but rather fingerprints of the production process itself. Another layer of interest comes from the concept of preservation and discovery timing. Many coins from this year circulated heavily, meaning that high-quality examples are not as common as one might expect. When a well-preserved piece is found, it immediately stands out because it retains details that are often lost over time. This contrast between worn and preserved examples adds another dimension to its overall appeal. Now, let us turn toward the idea of overlooked potential. Unlike coins that are widely recognized as rare, the 1985p often remains under the radar. This creates a unique opportunity. Because it is not constantly in the spotlight, valuable variations may go unnoticed for years. This means that discoveries are still possible, even today, for those who know what to look for. Subtle misalignments are one such area to explore. While they may not be dramatic enough to catch immediate attention, they can still indicate slight shifts during the striking process. These shifts may affect how the design sits on the coin, creating a slightly off-balance appearance that becomes noticeable under closer inspection. In addition to that, minor die fatigue can also play a role. Over time, repeated use of dies can lead to small changes in how designs are transferred onto coins. This can result in variations in depth, texture, and clarity. While these changes may appear insignificant, they contribute to the uniqueness of individual pieces. Another fascinating element is the way light interacts with the surface. Some coins from this year display a more reflective quality, while others appear slightly muted. This difference can be influenced by factors such as die condition, planchet preparation, and handling after production. These visual differences add to the character of each coin, making no two pieces exactly the same. When it comes to value, the 1985p 5-cent coin follows an interesting pattern. In its most common form, it remains close to face value. However, once you introduce factors such as condition, rarity of variation, or unique production traits, the potential increases. Coins that combine multiple desirable characteristics can attract attention from collectors who are constantly searching for something different. What makes this coin truly special is not just its potential worth, but the journey it represents. It shows how even in a period of controlled production, individuality can still emerge. It reminds us that value is not always obvious, it often hides beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. As you continue building your understanding, coins like the 1985p begin to reveal their true nature. They are not just objects of currency, they are records of a process, snapshots of a moment in time, and opportunities for discovery. And this is what makes the second coin in our collection so important. It shifts our perspective once again, encouraging us to move beyond the obvious and explore deeper layers of detail. Because sometimes, the most interesting finds are not the ones that stand out immediately, but the ones that require patience, curiosity, and a closer look. So as we continue this journey together, keep your eyes open and your mind curious, because the next discovery might already be in your hands, waiting for the moment you finally notice what others have missed. As we continue exploring this second coin, it becomes even more important to move beyond the surface and focus on the deeper characteristics that truly define its uniqueness. What makes this piece stand out is not just what you can immediately see, but what reveals itself only after careful observation and understanding. One of the most intriguing aspects to examine further is how minor production inconsistencies can develop into recognizable patterns. These patterns may not appear significant at first, but when compared across multiple coins from the same year, they begin to form a clearer picture. Slight variations in spacing, depth, and impression can indicate subtle shifts during the minting process, and identifying these patterns can give collectors a stronger sense of what makes one coin different from another. Another detail that deserves attention is the relationship between pressure and design clarity. During the striking process, even a small variation in pressure can affect how the design is transferred onto the surface. This can result in coins that appear either slightly sharper or slightly softer in their overall look. When a coin displays an unusually balanced and well-defined strike, it naturally becomes more appealing, especially when combined with minimal wear. Now, let's go a step further into areas that are often completely ignored. Under magnification, certain coins reveal extremely fine irregularities that are almost invisible to the naked eye. These can include micro-level doubling, faint distortions in lettering, or sliding consistencies along the edges. While these features may seem too small to matter, they are exactly the kind of details that experienced collectors pay close attention to. It's also worth exploring how handling over time influences perception. A coin that has been preserved carefully maintains a very different appearance compared to one that has been in constant circulation. The difference is not only in wear, but also in how light reflects off the surface. Subtle luster, smooth transitions, and clean details can make a preserved example stand out immediately. In contrast, heavily circulated pieces often lose these qualities, making it more difficult to identify any unique features they may have originally had. This is why finding a well-preserved coin from this year can feel like uncovering something rare, even if the coin itself was once produced in large numbers. Another fascinating concept is how multiple small characteristics can come together to create. There are moments in every collection where something unexpected appears, something that doesn't rely on obvious rarity, but instead builds its importance through quiet details, overlooked patterns, and a story that slowly reveals itself over time. This is exactly where our next coin enters the picture. Now, we move to the third piece in this series, the 19865-cent coin from the Jefferson Nickel lineup. At first glance, it carries the same familiar identity, but this time, the focus is completely different. This is not about what stands out instantly. This is about what reveals itself only when you take the time to truly observe. The D mint mark tells us that this coin was produced in Denver, a facility known for consistent output and strong strike quality. By the mid-1980s, production systems had already matured, meaning fewer dramatic variations, but that doesn't mean this coin lacks value. In fact, its importance comes from a different place altogether. What makes the 19860 coin interesting is how it sits quietly within the series, often overlooked because it doesn't immediately appear rare. But this is exactly what creates opportunity. When a coin is not constantly in the spotlight, it allows subtle variations and high quality examples to exist without being widely recognized. One of the key areas to focus on here is strike precision. Coins from this period can sometimes show a noticeable difference in how clearly the design has been impressed. Certain pieces display sharper details, especially in fine areas, while others appear slightly softer. This variation may seem small, but it plays a major role in how collectors evaluate quality. Another important factor is overall condition. Because many coins from this year were heavily circulated, finding one that still holds strong visual appeal can be surprisingly difficult. When such a piece is discovered, clean surfaces, balanced appearance, minimal wear, it immediately becomes more desirable within the series. Now, let's talk about value, because this is where things become more practical. In its most common form, the 19865-cent coin remains close to its face value. However, when you introduce higher grade condition or subtle production variations, the situation changes. Coins that meet stricter quality standards can attract attention from collectors who are always searching for better examples. This is especially true when a coin combines multiple positive characteristics: a well-preserved surface, a strong strike, and a clean overall look can elevate a simple coin into something worth holding onto. And while it may not always reach extreme prices, its steady demand makes it an important part of any serious collection. There is also a deeper layer to consider: the role this coin plays within the broader timeline. After earlier variations and before later developments, this piece acts as a bridge. It reflects a period where production had stabilized, yet individuality still existed in subtle forms. Understanding this position helps explain why certain collectors value it beyond its face appearance. Another angle worth exploring is how perception shapes value. Many people ignore coins like this simply because they don't hear about them often. But within collecting circles, attention can shift over time. When focus moves toward quality and detail, rather than just obvious rarity, coins like the 19860 begin to gain more recognition. This shift creates potential, because once attention increases, demand often follows. And when demand grows, even previously overlooked coins can start to stand out. This is why awareness is so important. Recognizing something early can make all the difference later. Let's also consider how small imperfections can sometimes add character. Minor irregularities, when confirmed as part of the production process, can make a coin more interesting. These are not dramatic flaws, but subtle signs that the coin has its own identity. And in a world where millions of coins exist, individuality is what truly matters. As you continue to explore the series, you begin to notice a pattern. Each coin teaches something different. The first introduced the idea of hidden value. The second expanded on subtle variations. And now, this third coin shifts the focus toward balance, condition, and long-term potential. And this is what makes the journey so engaging. It's not just about finding something rare, it's about understanding why something matters. It's about seeing beyond the obvious and recognizing the details that others might miss. But we're not done yet. Because while this third coin adds a new layer to our understanding, there is still one final piece left in this collection. And this last coin is going to bring everything together in a way that completely changes how you see the entire series. So stay with me, because the fourth and final coin is coming next, and it might just be the one that surprises you the most. And now, as we reach this point in the journey, something becomes very clear. What we've been looking at are not just simple 5-cent coins. These are pieces of history, each carrying its own identity, its own hidden details, and its own level of potential that most people never even stop to consider. From the earlier coins we explored to this third one, every step has revealed a different layer of understanding. At first, it seemed like we were just talking about small differences. But now, you can see how those small details can actually make a big impact. A slight variation, cleaner surface, a stronger strike. These are the things that can quietly turn an ordinary coin into something much more valuable. Take a moment and think about it. A coin that most people would spend without hesitation could actually hold a value far beyond its face amount. In some cases, depending on condition, preservation, and subtle characteristics, coins like these have been known to move from just 5 cents to something worth significantly more in collector interest. And the most surprising part, many of these valuable pieces are still out there, mixed in with everyday coins, completely unnoticed. That's what makes this entire journey so fascinating. It's not just about rare discoveries, it's about awareness. It's about knowing what to look for, understanding the details, and realizing that value doesn't always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes, it hides in plain sight. And as we look specifically at this third coin, it becomes even more interesting. This isn't a coin that depends on hype or obvious rarity. Instead, its strength comes from subtle quality, from condition, from balance, and from the quiet potential it carries within the series. For collectors who truly understand these factors, this coin becomes more than just a piece of metal, it becomes an opportunity. Now imagine this. Somewhere, someone might already have a coin just like this sitting in a drawer, a jar, or even in their pocket right now. They may not realize it. They may not even think twice about it, but the potential is there. And that's exactly why videos like this matter. Because once you start seeing these details, you can never ignore them again. But here's where everything starts to shift. Because what we've covered so far is only building towards something bigger. Each coin in this collection has played its role, each one adding a new piece to the puzzle, each one expanding your understanding just a little bit more. And now, we're about to reach the final piece of that puzzle, the fourth coin. This is not just another step in the series, it's the conclusion. The one that brings everything together. The one that takes everything you've learned so far and pushes it to another level. This final coin carries a completely different kind of importance. It introduces new elements, a stronger sense of rarity, and a level of value that goes beyond what we've seen in the previous coins. This is where things can truly surprise you, because sometimes the last coin in a collection is the one that changes everything. It's the coin that makes you go back and rethink every detail you've just learned. The one that makes you look at your own coins differently. The one that makes you realize that what seemed small was never really small at all. So don't miss what's coming next. Because in the next part, we're going to reveal the fourth and final coin of this entire series. And once you see it, you might just discover that the real value was right in front of you the whole time. There comes a point in every collection where everything starts to make sense, where all the small details, all the subtle differences, and all the hidden lessons come together into one final realization. And this is exactly where we are right now. This is the fourth and final coin in our series, the 1987D 5-cent coin from the Jefferson Nickel lineup. But this time, we're not just talking about history, design, or small variations. This time, everything comes down to one thing: value. Because at the end of the day, the biggest question every collector asks is simple: how much is this coin really worth? Now, let's start with the basics. In its most common form, the 1987D 5-cent coin is still considered a standard circulation piece. Millions of these coins were produced, and many of them are still found in everyday use. So on the surface, its face value remains just 5 cents. But as we've seen throughout this journey, face value and real value are never the same thing. Because once you begin to look closer, once you start evaluating condition, quality, and subtle characteristics, the story changes completely. And with the 1987D coin, this difference becomes even more important. The true value of this coin begins with condition. Coins that have been heavily circulated tend to lose their sharpness, their detail, and their original appearance. These pieces usually remain close to face value. But when you find a coin that has been preserved in excellent condition, clean surfaces, strong details, and minimal wear, you are already looking at something far more desirable. Now take that a step further. When a 1987D coin exists in near perfect condition, where the details are crisp and the overall appearance is strong, it can move into a completely different category. These high-quality examples are much harder to find. Because most coins from this year were used regularly, that means fewer coins survived in top condition, and scarcity always plays a role in value. This is where collector demand begins to increase. Because collectors are not just looking for any coin, they are looking for the best possible version of that coin. And when supply of high-quality examples is limited, the value naturally begins to rise. Now, let's talk about realistic value ranges. A standard circulated 1987D coin may still only be worth its face value, but once you move into better condition coins that are cleaner, sharper, and more visually appealing, the value can increase beyond that. And when you reach higher grade examples, the difference becomes even more noticeable. Coins that meet strict quality standards, especially those that appear almost untouched, can attract significantly more attention. These are the coins that collectors compete for, the ones that stand out in collections, and the ones that can reach much higher price levels compared to ordinary pieces. But here's where things become even more interesting. Because value is not only about condition, it's also about recognition. When a coin begins to gain attention within the collecting community, its demand can grow. And as demand increases, so does its perceived value. This means that even a coin like the 1987D, which may seem ordinary at first, can become more desirable over time as more collectors begin to focus on high-quality examples. Another factor that adds to value is preservation over time. Coins that have been stored carefully, protected from damage, and kept in stable conditions tend to maintain their original characteristics much better. These coins often show stronger details, better surface quality, and a more attractive overall appearance. And all of these factors contribute directly to value. Now imagine this scenario. Two coins from the same year, both identical at first glance. One has been heavily used, worn down, and handled countless times. The other has been carefully preserved, maintaining its original look. To most people, they may seem similar, but to a collector, the difference is huge. One remains ordinary, the other becomes valuable. This is the power of condition. And this is why the 1987D coin holds more potential than most people realize. Because while millions were made, only a small percentage remain in top condition. And those are the coins that matter. But there's another layer to consider: long-term potential. As time passes, coins naturally become harder to find in high-quality condition. This means that the number of desirable examples can decrease over time. And when supply goes down while interest remains steady or increases, value can continue to grow. This is how ordinary coins slowly transform into valuable collectibles. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually, as awareness increases and availability decreases. And this is exactly why understanding value is so important. Because the difference between spending a coin and keeping it could mean the difference between 5 cents and something far more meaningful in the future. Now, let's bring everything together. Throughout this entire series, we've explored different aspects of coins' hidden details, subtle variations, overlooked features. But this final coin brings everything back to one central idea: recognizing value before everyone else does. Because once you understand what makes a coin valuable: condition, demand, Preservation, you begin to see things differently. You stop looking at coins as simple currency, and you start seeing them as opportunities. And that's the real takeaway from this entire journey. As we come to the end of today's journey, take a moment and think about everything we've explored together. What started as a simple discussion about 5-cent coins has turned into something much bigger, something far more valuable than most people would ever expect. In this video, we didn't just look at one coin. We went through multiple pieces in a complete collection, each one revealing a different kind of story, a different type of detail, and a different level of potential. We began with the first coin, where we uncovered how even the smallest detail can hide unexpected value. Then we moved to the second coin, where subtle differences and overlooked characteristics started to change the way we see ordinary coins. After that, the third coin showed us the importance of condition, balance, and long-term potential. And finally, the fourth coin brought everything together by focusing on one powerful idea: value. These were not just random coins. These were examples that prove a simple truth. Sometimes, the most valuable things are the ones people ignore the most. Now here's something I want you to think about. How many coins have you seen in your life that you never paid attention to? How many times have you spent a coin without even looking at it? And what if, just once, one of those coins had something special about it, but you didn't notice? That's exactly why videos like this matter. Because once you understand what to look for, everything changes. You begin to notice details. You begin to question what others ignore. And most importantly, you begin to see value where others see nothing. In today's video, we covered 5 important points, 5 key ideas that can completely change your perspective on coin collecting and hidden value. First, we learned that even the most common coins can carry hidden potential. Second, we saw how small variations can create big differences. Third, we understood how condition plays a major role in determining worth. Fourth, we explored how awareness and timing can turn ordinary finds into valuable discoveries. And fifth, we realized that value is not always obvious, it often hides in plain sight, waiting. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you already have any of the coins we talked about today? Or maybe you're going to check your coins right after this video. Whatever it is, go down into the comments and let me know. Your experience could be the next interesting story, and who knows, you might already be holding something valuable without even realizing it. There are many more coins, many more hidden details, and many more discoveries waiting to be explored. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay connected, because every new video is another opportunity to learn something valuable that others might miss. And remember, the next time you see a simple coin, don't ignore it, don't rush past it, take a closer look. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.